Good evening, everybody, and happy Mother's Day. Whether you're a mother, whether you are not a mother, just happy Mother's Day, everybody. I'm going to say happy day for everybody because I believe that we should be being nice and wishing people well every day. But I'm going to have a chat about mothers today and memories of me being a mum, memories of me becoming... Hi, Karen. Hi, Dawn. All about Mother's Day and happy memories. Carrie Ann, hello. Nice to see you coming in. Sorry, I'm just going to refresh my page so I can see the comments coming up. But I just thought Mother's Day, as it was Mother's Day. Thank you. Thank you very much. I actually have spent most of the day on my own. I say on my own. Hi, Juliet. I say on my own. I'm never on my own. Hi, Sandra. Because I go out and about. I'm on social media. Hi, Karen. I'm on social media. I have the phone, etc., etc. So I have actually been out today doing some charity work, doing some collecting for the Autism Directory. But during the day, I have heard from all my children. And let's get you, I tell you what, let's get the picture of them. Here we go. So this actually is on the header of my Facebook page. This picture was taken back in 2012. So Toby now sports a beard. This is my firstborn, Toby. This is my secondborn, Natasha. There's little Diddy Mum in the middle. I didn't think I was that short till I look here. And this is Tristan. Some of you will know Tristan because he appears on social media a lot. So this is my brood. This is my reason why. This and my grandchildren. And the only picture you're going to see of my grandchildren is just a quick... Oh, well, I will show it to you in a minute. I'm going to show you two of the grandchildren, but you know, we have a policy mostly not to put them on, but you'll see why I bring that one in a moment. So I am mother to these three, and I am granny to four. My daughter has the four children. These two don't have any. Toby's getting married next year. 2019, yes, that's it. He announced his engagement on my... Hi, Tristan. He announced my... Oh, Tristan, do you want to come in and be with your mum? That is one of my children just come into the broadcast there. That's this one. Tristan's just come into the broadcast. If you want to come in, Tristan, let me know. I don't know if you're busy or not. But you might not want to be on the broadcast because I might be telling a few secrets, a few mum's secrets. embarrassing things maybe, or maybe not. Who knows? Yeah, okay. All right. In a minute. He's going to come in a minute. So hi, Tony. So talking about Mother's Day, I haven't spent the day with my children. They're far flung across the UK, but I have heard from them all today. I have been speaking with them. I've had various WhatsApp pictures come in. I have had one Mother's Day card there, a physical Mother's Day card, but I don't worry whether I have cards or not. I've had greetings on WhatsApp. Lovely. Oh, nice, Shirley. Lovely. You had the grandchildren round. Yeah, my grandchildren were with their other set of grandparents, which I don't worry about at all because I get my share. It doesn't have to be Mother's Day when I see my grandchildren. Hi, Michael. So we're talking about Mother's Day, mothers, grandmothers, etc. But actually, I mean, I actually, although it's nice to have a Mother's Day, I value any time I have with my children, any conversations I have with my children, anything that my children do to make me proud, whether it's a special day called Mother's Day. But actually, I value every day and I like to keep in constant contact with them. So there we are. That's my brood, and I have got that picture on my header on Facebook. I'm very proud of them. They are my reason why. And so I'm going to tell you some anecdotes. I've got a few bits and pieces here. Hi, Paul. I didn't have a lot of time to get a lot together because I've been out doing charity collecting. Now I'm going to bring child number 3 in because he's just requested to come in on the broadcast. So let's bring in child number 3. Here he comes. Let's approve him. I think he wants to come in so he can counteract any Okay. So, oh, Dadina. Hello, Dadina. Nice to see you here. We're just chatting. Right.
Hello.
Okay. So here we go. Hello.
Happy
Hello.
Mother's Day again.
Fancy seeing you. I think you only want to check out that I don't tell any naughty stories about you.
Oh no,
What?
I'm pretty sure you do that. I'm sure you do that even when it's not Mother's Day.
There are a few anecdotes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's right. We were telling a little story the other day, weren't we? We
Yeah.
might put that story in this broadcast again. So actually, while you're sitting there, I'm going to show one of the things that I've actually got here is something that you sent. I don't know which year it was, but do you remember sending me this?
I do indeed.
The world's best mum.
Yeah.
No? It's got
Yes, I
your
do.
name
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah, I
You
do
do remember
remember.
it. It says, right, okay. It says, certificate awarded to Lynn Blackledge. This award is for you because you are the very best mum. You're super cool and a star and one in a million. You should be reading this out. Thinking of you on your special day and all the year through because I'm really lucky to have a fab mum like you. Lots of love from Tristan. Kiss, kiss, kiss. There we go. All right.
Well,
Yeah.
this
So,
year you've
what?
got a present, but I couldn't ship it in case it breaks.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
interesting. All right. Okay. Well, I'm patient. I can wait.
I'm getting a really bad delay this time.
Oh,
But I thought I'd see you
not
probably
what?
soon, or I'd be able to see if I see Tasha or something, I can drop it with her. So
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, I shall look forward to that. So, any little stories you want to tell about Mummy before Mummy tells any little stories about the children?
well, I'll keep mine in the bank
Hello. You
and see how bad
frozen?
yours are.
He's frozen. Oh, sorry. Say again.
I'll keep mine in the
What did
bank
you say?
and
You're
see
keeping them back?
how bad yours are. Yeah, and see how bad yours are.
Oh, right. Well, I was going to sort of start with a little story about, you know, my family, starting my family. And of course, I mean, Tristan,
Yep.
he is my youngest for anybody watching in. He's the baby of the bunch. He doesn't like me calling him the baby of the bunch, but never mind, you know, he is the baby of the bunch. Um, my first child, Toby, he doesn't come online very much, does he? We don't see him much. What are you grinning for? What are you doing?
No, he's busy.
Hi, Peter. He, oh, he's busy, is he? Are you
He's
sure?
busy. Yeah, he's busy
What's
working. Yeah,
going on?
maybe. He pretends to be anyway.
Oh, I see what you mean. All right, pretends to be busy. Yes, he's not so much of a social. He does work online, but he's a web developer, so we see he's behind the scenes rather than on the camera, isn't he? And
Yeah.
so I had my firstborn. And when I had my firstborn, I won some brownie points, you know. Not that I'm competitive at all, but my first child, Toby, was due on the 14th of November. And that was that was the day Prince Charles was born. It was Prince Charles's, actually no, it was Prince Charles's birthday, that date. That was the date of Prince Charles's birthday. And sorry, I'm getting a bit confused. But also, no, that's right. Sorry, very, very confused here. Confused.com. No, so Toby was was due on the 14th of, and I think my mum was hoping that I would have it the same day that that Prince Charles's birthday, because my mum likes those sort of things. Anyway, he actually arrived 10 days late. And he arrived on the 24th of November. But I still got brownie points with my mum because the 24th of November was hi everybody coming in, was my sister's birthday. So my firstborn was born on the same day as my mum's firstborn. So that was brownie points there. So Toby was born in 1975. He's 42. And then my second child came along and she was born in 78. That's my Natasha. Hang on, where's the picture gone? Where did I? Oh, I put it back. Whoops, let's have a look. So this is Natasha is the second one, and she was born on the 24th of March. Now she was due on the 5th of March, and she arrived 19 days late and kept everybody waiting. And we were getting very fed up because she was deciding she didn't want to arrive and didn't want to make, me a mummy of a second child. She was far too cozy, and people kept asking and saying, oh, has she had the baby yet? We kept asking my husband, has she had the baby yet? And we lived, we lived in a small, like a village community within a suburb of London. And we had a porch, and what we decided to do in the end, because everybody was getting so fed up with waiting, that we decided that we would I made some bows, and once the baby arrived, the bows would go, the right coloured bows would go up. I mean, these days I don't think people worry about blue and pink, but then it was blue for boy, pink for girl. And the bows would go up in the porch once the baby arrived. And I can remember going out on the day she was due and going to a restaurant, and in the restaurant they said, oh, when's your baby due? And I said, oh, today, quick, serve this lady, they said. But there I was, still another 19 days before she arrived, but she arrived on the 24th of March. So we had 24th of November and the 24th of March. So that was great. And then Tristan was baby number 3, and he was due on the 14th of October. I was hoping that I would go to the 24th of October, so they were all on the 24th.
Is that so you could remember them all?
Something like that. I just thought, but no, but also it would have been in half term, and I was running my nursery school by then, you see, so it would have been in half term, and it would have been, I wouldn't have had to take time off. But
sorry, I was so inconsiderate.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm not. No, this is Tasha. Oh
no.
No, oh no, you. Wait a minute. No, where are we up to? You. That's right.
The 15th,
in half term. But yes, that's right. So, but because Tasha was born 19 days late and was a 10-pound-3 baby, they wouldn't let me go more than one day overdue. So they took me in the next day, and you were born then. So you didn't quite make it into half term, unfortunately. Tasha did. What Tasha did, she was born. By the time Tasha was born, I was running a nursery school. And she was very obliging by being 19 days late, because she arrived on Good Friday, and I was back at work with baby 2 weeks later. So have baby will travel. But I have to tell you some stories about Tristan while he's here. Because when he was due, of course, the people were wondering whether I was going to go 3 weeks overdue, like I did with my daughter, what size baby was going to be. And at the time, I was running the nursery school, and we had an issue with the roof of our conservatory. And the conservatory was where the children did their painting, and so we needed to do some fundraising to fix the roof. And so basically I ran a competition around Tristan's birth. In fact, I ran 3. So we had 3 things. We had guess the time and the date when he's going to be born. We gave them the information of the first 2 children. Mine's a white with no sugar, thank you. Are you pouring me a tea or a coffee?
Okay, brilliant.
Anyway. Sorry?
No, I'm on the coffee.
What you doing?
I'm on the coffee.
Oh, are you? Right. Okay.
Sorry, hijacking your broadcast.
Coming into the broadcast there. Hi, everybody. Yes, he's hijacking my... But
they're here for the coffee.
He's been like that. He's been a troublemaker all his life. So
you wouldn't have it any other way.
So no. So we had these competitions, and one of them was the date. One of them was a date when he would be born. One of them was the time he would be born. And one of them was the weight that he would be born. And I can remember, while I was in labour, Tristan's dad saying to me, oh, no, sorry, I flipped onto the wrong baby, that one. I remember, though, watching the clock when you were being born and saying, oh, right, well, we've gone past these people who've all guessed the time and we're into this one. But where I flipped there and my memory just slipped, on Toby's birth, I remember your dad looking at the clock at midnight and saying, it's okay, you can have the baby now, because
it was his dad.
As you know, no, it was my sister's birthday, and Toby had made it to my sister's birthday. So I remember him saying, oh, it's okay, you can have this baby now, because you'll get brownie points, you know.
Yeah.
So that was that. So I mean, I don't know whether you want to interject with anything, or shall I just carry on telling stories?
You can carry on. You carry on telling stories. I'm here for the stories.
Okay. You're here to listen to the stories.
You can tell us
Righty-ho.
our weights. You can tell us our birth weights as well, to share that with everyone. So,
yes. The boys were both 9-pounders, around 9 pounds. So we had rather large babies. My mum had large babies. She had 8, 9, 10, and 11, and I had 2 9-pounds and a 10-pound 3. So rather big. But my daughter, when she went on to produce her first baby, it wasn't a first baby. It was a first 2 babies, and that's all you get to see of the grandchildren. Sorry, folks, because we don't allow too much of it. But that's me becoming a proud granny of 2, and she had twin girls, and she had a 5-pound 4 and a 4-pound 5. So basically, it was a 9-pound plus baby if it had been 1. But the funny thing about Tasha having twins, when she was a little girl, she wanted a twin pram. So she had a twin pram one year. The only difference then was that she had twin boy dolls. But when she grew up, she had twin girl babies. So that was the difference there. You know, I don't know, you know, whether coincidence, isn't it, that she wanted, you know, most little girls ask for doll's pram, in my experience, but you know, maybe my experience is enough. It was so funny that she asked for twin pram and then went on to have twins. So Tristan got up to 1 or 2 tricks when he was little, didn't you? 1 or 2 tricks when he was in school.
None of it's true.
None of it's true. Oh, so you didn't put glue on that little girl's blazer? You didn't put any glue on the little girl's blazer?
No, it was a boy's blazer, and it was a prefect.
Oh, right, I got that one wrong. So you did put
advice to anyone who's going to do that sort of thing: don't put it on a prefect's blazer. You get in more trouble.
And then you get into trouble too when you run a tack shop in school, don't you? Let's tell this story again. We told it the other day, but we may have different people in the broadcast.
They just wanted a cut of the profits. That's what it was.
Yeah, so go on, tell the story. You like telling the story because you tell me I tell it wrong.
So fast forward 12 years from me being born, age 12 at school, at a private school in London, and I saw an opportunity to turn my £5 of pocket money that Mum was very generously giving me on a regular basis into a little bit more by buying sweets and plugging the gap in my school where there was no tuck shop. And so I used to sell quite a large amount of sweets from my locker in the break time and lunch breaks. And I was a bit of a ruthless businessman, not taking any rubbish from anyone. You know, people getting sweets and saying, this says 10p.
We're losing your audio. Sorry, we're losing your audio.
Okay. I don't know where you got to.
Start again. No, you were 12 and you saw a gap in the market in your private school that had no tuck shop.
Okay, so I was a fairly ruthless businessman, aged 12, selling sweets from my locker, and people would come to me and they would see the packet said 10p on them, and they'd say, oh, but these say 10p, why am I paying 30p? And I would just literally look at them and say, buy them somewhere else then, knowing full well that they couldn't. And so obviously they would buy them, and I extended a kind gesture to only one person in the school, by way of a line of credit. And he was one of the popular kids. He was in the rugby team, and obviously that helped my business to boom. And he and family and stuff now, and actually, so I'm meaning to reconnect and go back and visit him and have a proper catch up and a laugh about the old days, and how now that's become a part of a story that I get to tell when I'm presenting or giving workshops, or doing these live streams. So little did he know, by spending £100 in a tuck shop aged 12, that he was going to become this celebrity on live stream and be talked about all the time.
I lost part of your audio there, but I think that other people didn't. I put my thing strange, but I'm not sure if everybody else. Karen said that your audio was okay, but it was it
glitches, and it depends, because we've both got different connections, so you might hear different to everybody else. I actually never got to the last part of the story, which was the moment when I got into trouble with our very strict South African headmaster, and he called my mum into the office and wanted to have a stern word with her about how dishonest I had been, seeing this gap in the market, investing in my own idea and my own business, taking the initiative and selling and plugging that gap. And he called mum in to tell her I'd been very dishonest and it shouldn't happen. And before we even left the room, mum and I kind of looked at each other, and mum said, "You're going to do it again, aren't you?" To which I answered, yes. Obviously, being an entrepreneur who was making this amount of money at age 12. And mum just looked at me and she said, "Just don't get caught this time." And so obviously mum nurtured that entrepreneurial spirit and encouraged me to do it, which is probably a big factor in me now doing the businesses and things like that. I've actually literally, mum, I don't know if you've got an invite yet, but you're about to get an invite to a new business that we've been helping to set up today. It's not mine. Somebody else's that we've been setting up today, which is, and I'm sure it won't be a problem saying, is actually reigniting the love for secondhand books in quite a new, innovative way. So I will keep you. We've discussed it, but that's actually happening now. So I will send you the details. So that's exciting.
But what I will say is, if I'd quashed you and listened to that headmaster, I honestly don't think we'd be sitting here tonight like this, because you've gone on to be entrepreneurial and you've dragged me with you.
kicking and screaming.
I love it. No, not so. But what I was going to do, I've got a book here, and it says "Dear Mum," because we're talking about mums and all that, and this is a book that Toby gave me, and it's a book. Right, let me read it. What it says: "Everyone has a story to tell. Life is a fascinating journey, and some aspects are often shared with others. However, most stories and moments are never recorded. This journal of a lifetime is full of wonderful questions, carefully designed to inspire every mother to tell her personal story. Celebrate your mum's amazing story and give her the opportunity to find that book within her and provide a priceless collection of experiences and memories to be treasured." Now, Toby gave me this some time ago, and I have to admit I haven't done anything yet. It's got blank pages. It's for me to write my story. So I have got it out now. I've got it off the shelf, and I'm going to start doing this. But I have marked some pages up quickly just for tonight's broadcast. And I'm going to just going to answer one or two of them publicly now. It says, "What do you remember about your holidays as a child?" Well, my holidays as a child, a lot of them were taken on the Isle of Wight. We lived in London, and we holidayed on the Isle of Wight. I now live on the Isle of Wight because eventually my parents bought a house down here, and so I think that's quite significant to go on that page, that those holidays led on. Lots of happy memories of holidays on the island, of being in carnivals. I was actually voted one holiday. I was voted Miss Ride on a carnival holiday here, and now I live in Ride, so that's quite fun. Let's go to another one. This one. Oh, this one made me chuckle. It said, what were you best at when you were at school? Now, I think this would be better to say, what were you least good at, or that sort of question, because I don't think I shone out in any particular subject in school, but I will tell you about my my what do we have? GCEs. Yes, okay. So it was a question when we got to a certain level in school, we had to make choices of what subjects we were going to do. And I had to choose between history and geography. I couldn't do both on the other choices. And so it wasn't a question of what I was best at. It was a question of what I was least bad at. So I was rubbish at both. Well, I wasn't very good at both. Don't say rubbish, because that's not, we always say look for more positive, don't we? So we'll say the positive. So I took history because I was slightly better at history than geography. Now, we got all the way up to the morning of the exam, and my knowledge was about this. My dad had oops, sorry. Before I bring my dad into it, because he's a major part of this, they'd extended the period, and they'd never done questions on some of the period. So we were doing covering new ground for our exam. And what happened? We got into the exam, and I looked at the paper, and I couldn't answer one question. I knew I was bad at history. I didn't know I was that bad at history. And so, are you with me?
Yeah.
Tristan, are you with me?
Yes.
I didn't know I was that bad at history, but I couldn't answer one paper on the question one question on the paper. And then I looked round, and everybody had their hands up, because they'd sent us the wrong paper, which was no surprise. I couldn't answer one question. So what happened? We were told to go. Home. Hey, Tristan.
Sorry, I'm listening. I'm still listening. I've got headphones in.
Yes. All right. Okay. All right. We were told to go home and come back in the afternoon. So I went home, and I rang my dad in a panic and said, look, this is what's happened. And what they did, what my dad did was said, read up I think it was the League of Nations. Read up on the League of Nations. Was it either League of Nations or United Nations? It's so long ago. I think it must be. See, my history is so bad, I don't know which was the one. So I did what he said and read up on that. And he said, and read up on Churchill's life. And of course, I was reading this for the first time ever on the day of the exam. Anyway, my friend's dad came to pick me up and take me back. And unfortunately, I hadn't finished the second half of Churchill's life. But what happened, we got into the exam, and there was a question on the League of Nations, or whether it's the League of Nations or United Nations. There was the question. Boom, boom. I had just read it that morning, and I got down my information. And then there was a question on Winston Churchill. Sadly, it was on the second half of his life, and I'd only read the first half because my friend's dad came early to pick me up to take me back to school. But the other question was the one that got me through, and I passed my history. And the funny thing was, we had a girl in our class who was absolutely brilliant at history, but she failed. She failed the exam because she got fluffed because we got sent home, and by fluke I passed on what I learned that very day. So I mean, it was, you know, I felt very sorry for her because she was brilliant at history and she deserved to pass, and I certainly didn't deserve to pass. But there you go.
My
So
subjects
that,
my subjects were the other way around. It was funny as you were saying that. I was thinking history was definitely my worst, and so I did geography was between geography and history. I think mine went the other way around. History was definitely my weaker
right,
subject of the two. But they were both at
right,
the
okay,
bottom of all my subjects,
yeah.
but they were the other way around.
Yeah, well, I've now got. I'm still dipping into the Dear Mum book, and there's another page here that I've put a marker in, and it says, "What did you want to do when you grew up?"
Don't
And
want to
all
grow
I
up.
ever no, I haven't. I still haven't grown up. I'm the original Peter Pan-esque, didn't you know? Did you not see me on my broadcast last night with all my funny teeth
Speaking
on?
about that, Emily pulled me up today and took this picture. This is me in a bookshop earlier on, and I'm not sure if you can make it out, but she took this because she thought it was funny that this was the level of my reading. It's The Colorblind Chameleon. It's a children's book that I just caught my eye in the book,
Yeah, I can
and
see
she thought
I
it was
can see
funny
it's a
because it
children's.
was a children's book. So nowadays, again, I've literally talk about it all the time. I don't do reading, I do audiobooks because it's the faster, more productive
Yes.
way for me to consume knowledge and content. So
But I still like a nice book in my hand. So what did you want to do when you grew up? Well, all I ever wanted to do was be a teacher. And I think, and I went on to be a teacher. Of course, I was a teacher for 30 years. But when I was at school and we had to go for our career advice and that, they got fed up with me because I just knew what I wanted to do. And, you know,
yeah.
and so they just said, oh, okay, you know, sort of pushed me through because they couldn't give me advice because I'd already knew exactly what I wanted to do. So I thought that one was quite interesting. And then, hang on, this one, I think this one is quite interesting. It says, what were your favourite hobbies when you were young? Now, I learned to knit when I was young. And I was knitting then, and I'm still knitting now. I love it. And I've actually been knitting. Let me just show you. Today, while I was out charity collecting, I sit down and I do the charity collecting. While I'm doing the collecting, I've been knitting. So what do you think this is?
Is it a scarf?
No, if I put it like
Oh,
that.
it could be. It's going to be a teddy bear.
It's one of these. This one's got to be, I've got to sew him up. So it's one of those. So I've done, this is the third one I've done, and I did most of this today. And I did some of the knitting on the bus.
Did you see the video
I
I shared recently about the men's knitting? The guy who knits on the bus and train and everything. But he's really fast as well.
I think I've seen him. I'm not sure whether it's you shared it or where I saw it somewhere else. But, you know, I knit on the bus regularly. And also, when I'm knitting for the charity, I get more people come up and chat to me, you know, because some people are fascinated. They don't, you know, they haven't seen anybody knit, especially children. And then, you know, it bodes well for getting more money in the charity box. So, but, you know, so all the knitting I do these days is for charity. Now, this one, Tristan, I think you know the answer to this one. How did you meet my father? So how did I meet your dad? Do you know how I met your dad? Do you remember?
When you burgled.
Yes, that's right. Our house was burgled. What happened? We went out. It was Good Friday. Good Friday is significant in my family. If you remember, if anybody was listening earlier, you'd have heard me say that my daughter was born on Good Friday. But I met Tristan's dad on a Good Friday. What happened? We went out with the church people from our church, and we went on a ramble. And because we had a big house, Mum and Dad invited everybody back to our house. And what happened? They all went off to get changed after the ramble. Dad went off to church to collect some cutlery and stuff so that we got enough cutlery for everybody coming back. My mum, my sister, and I suppose my brothers and I got back to find our house had been burgled. So some of the visitors started arriving. And I mean, obviously we called the police. But the visitors started arriving. They said, "Oh, well, we'll go home. We'll leave you." And my mum said, "No, come in." You know, there was chaos in various of the rooms, but it was a big house. So she said, "Come on, it'll take the edge off the burglary for us." So anyway, the party started. We were waiting for the police, and then eventually this rather handsome young policeman arrived. Long story short, I went on to marry the policeman who came to sort out the burglary. And so Tristan's dad was in the police, which is why I think that might be why I have very tall boys, because of course policemen are tall, and both my boys tower over me. I think you saw that from the photograph. I look really diddy in this, but I'm not really diddy. They're just very tall. So that was how I met your father, and I lost £7 in the burglary. So I say, he cost me £7, but actually I got my money back on the insurance. It came back in the insurance as well. It was my wages from my working in Sainsbury's. So and this one, it says, describe the occasion when you first met my dad's parents. And this was a funny one. I thought it would make people laugh. We were invited to go and meet your dad's parents, and what did you call her? Grandma.
Grandma, yeah, grandma and granddad,
Grandma.
yeah, on that side.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I get confused with the nanas and the grannies and that, and of course they're not with us anymore, so it's not as it's not constant in my mind. So Grandma was making this wonderful apple meringue pie for us. So I mean, I went to meet them, and my parents were meeting. The parents were meeting, and perhaps I'd already met her, I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm going to tell this story anyway. And so I was taking mum and dad. That's right, I was taking mum and dad to meet them. And she went to get the apple meringue pie out of the oven, and the meringue went splat on the floor. And she was so embarrassed. But, we're a family. I mean, what sort of family we are. It doesn't matter. If the meringue went on the floor, well, tough luck. It didn't really matter. So, so that was that one. So, that's out of there. What else was I going to bring? I don't know if you've got it, proud moments. I got a proud moment of Toby's picture from graduation. I haven't got yours handy, Tristan. I don't know if you've got one there, because of course I only suddenly decided to do this broadcast. Hi Gary, this broadcast. I didn't know what my subject was until about 9:30, and I didn't get in till then. So
yeah.
Oopsie, my battery's running down, and hang on. That's all right. Yeah.
I think I might be able to help you out there.
All right. I tell you what. Can you keep talking? I've got to run and get the plug for my battery. All right.
Yep, absolutely. I can. Yep. I'm just going to try and find that picture.
If you like your mother.
The picture that you were just talking about. So. So I actually had a strange one for my graduation. I was actually in Spain during my when my graduation was due to take place. I was working abroad, and I had to fly back in, and the only flights I could get in was coming into Bournemouth, which is where I was at uni and graduating from, and then I had to fly back out of Bristol, and I caught the flight back out by the hair by the skin of my teeth. That's the word. That's the phrase I'm looking for, not the hair of my teeth. But this is actually my graduation. So this was the graduation day, and shortly after this picture was taken, I disrobed and ran out, and then had to convince my cousin to drive me all the way up to Bristol to get flights back out to Spain to get back to work for the evening. So it was a very, very manic graduation. So I managed to just about make it in. Sue, who you could see in that picture, that's Mum's sister, and I flew into hers in the morning, grabbed breakfast, a shower, got changed, went to graduation, and then her son drove me all the way out to Bristol. And I literally, if anyone's ever been to Bristol Airport, the front of Bristol Airport, you drive past the doors to go to the car park. And we were so tight on time. I literally looked at him and I said, look, just stop right outside. I've only got my bag here. I don't need to get anything out. And I jumped out at the stairs, ran in, and I was doing I had a belt on. So I was trying to pull my belt off and so that I could get through the metal detectors and kick my boots off and whatever, and ran through. And I said, what time does the gate officially close? And they said it's already closed. But you know, you've probably got time as long as you run. So if you've ever seen this in an airport, I was running through the airport, and there was literally at every corner of the airport, there was someone with a radio radioing ahead to say, yes, we can see him, he's on his way through the airport. And then I got to the gate and waited for 15 minutes to get on the plane. So I'd run all the way through the airport, left myself completely out of breath and, you know, hot and sweaty to get on the plane, and then had the embarrassing 2-hour flight, sat next to one of the DJs that I was working with in Spain, all hot and sweaty. So that was a little bit embarrassing. But yeah, so fortunately I knew where that picture was, because I've just been pulling out old pictures into a folder, and I literally have just pulled that one out recently. So I knew it was there.
And I am actually glad I didn't know that you had, you know, you were whizzing like that. One of the difficult things was, of course, I didn't go to your graduation. Now, I don't know if Karen's still in the broadcast, but I know she won't mind me telling this story. My friend Karen Bourne had, earlier in the year, when I didn't have Tristan's graduation date, Karen had asked me to go on holiday with her to help her. She had a mum who had a disability, and she wanted me to go and help her. There you are, Karen. And so I was booked in for this wonderful, you know, I mean, it was a lovely holiday. Yes, I was there to help out, but I had a lovely holiday. And Karen looked after me, as well as I was looking, you know, helping to look after her mum. But of course, it clashed with the graduation date. But I had to talk to Tristan and say, look, I have promised this. You know, and I know he wouldn't want me to renege on a promise that I'd made to somebody like that. So it meant other family members could go to the graduation where I couldn't go. But what I did, I probably had a better view than them, because I found out that it was being live streamed, and it was on a Friday, and it was being live streamed in the morning. Now, Karen and her husband were clearing up the accommodation on that Friday morning. So, and I had an iPad at the time. I had an iPhone and an iPad. So I was watching it being streamed on the iPad, and I was taking photographs of the iPad on the iPhone. And my family were in the ceremony, but they were behind a pillar, so they didn't have such a very good view. I had a better view.
This sounds very much like the time I flew back from Australia to surprise you, and you thought we were on a Skype call internationally, and I was actually getting out of the car, trying not to let you know that it was daytime, because you might realise. And as I walked over, you were taking pictures, because we were on Skype on Toby's phone, so that I had full control of what was going on. And I walked up to the side of the car just as you were taking pictures, and I remember opening the door and saying, well, you could just take a picture here. And you kind of looked at me, looked at the screen, and then looked at me again and realised I was actually stood there. But it took you a couple of minutes to realise.
That's the second time you came. There were two occasions you surprised me coming from Australia to back to the UK, and that one was the twins' christening. Yeah, I think, or it was one of the children.
I think it was Alex.
I think it was.
I think it might have been Alex.
One of the. Yeah, it was grandchildren's christening. I don't know which one or whatever. I can't remember the years. They go by too fast. Anyway, yes, that was it. I was disappointed because Tristan couldn't be there, and I had said to the other children, right, we'll have to Photoshop him in the picture, and then. So the others suggested that I Skype called him, and so we drove from my daughter's, which wasn't very far away. Of course, my other children were in on the deal; they knew the score. So I was saying, had we better Skype Tristan now? And or Toby said, perhaps you better Skype him. So we're just doing this, and I was just driving along, thinking he was the other side of the world. Can you imagine when? He opens the car door beside me. I mean, these are the special mummy moments.
The other time, actually, having shared those pictures this week on LinkedIn of Blab, that is the Blab when they were trying to keep you distracted in the middle of the night, because I was arriving at 5 a.m. or something, 3, 4 or 5 a.m. or something.
I must tell this story. My best mummy. This is another one of the mummy stories. I mean, this is becoming a bit of a Tristan and mummy, but the others we have lots of stories of the other children. But Tristan was coming to the UK for a family wedding, wasn't it? A family wedding. I think, wasn't it? Or
I forget. Yeah,
no,
I think maybe
no.
a wedding.
No, it was a conference. We were running a conference, and he was coming over, and I knew he was going to be in the UK for the 15th of September. My birthday's the 8th of September, and I said, will you be over for my birthday? And he kept saying, oh, I don't know if I can make it that early, whatever. Anyway, he wouldn't commit. You know, I should have known better. He wouldn't commit. Anyway, it was in the days of Blab, and I don't know if any of you know Blab, but Blab was when you could have 4 people in a screen, not just 2 like this, but a platform with 4 of us in the screen. And in the early hours of I used to jump on Blab. It's when I first got sort of more familiar with all the live stuff. And I'd woken up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Don't ask me why. I've no idea why. But I actually was often up at that sort of time because Australian, you know, with the Australian time, we used to, you know, communicate a lot at the odd hours, didn't we? And so I live streamed at 5, and the other 3 girls in the Blab they were covering for Tristan. And so what happened was they messaged me and said, come on Blab, we know it's your birthday, come on Blab. I said, but I'm in my night clothes. So I said, right, give me 5 minutes, I'll get dressed and I'll come on Blab. I mean, I've since been online in my dressing gown, so, you know, but I felt I needed to be dressed. So there I was at 5 o'clock in the morning getting dressed to go on live stream. A short while later, there was a bang on my door. Now, very few people arrive at my door at 5:30 in the morning or whatever it was by this time. And I knew who it was going to be. I just had that second, you know, thing. I had no idea. He had to cover his tracks because, of course, when you're traveling across the world, if you don't put your location off, it can show you. I did actually see him in a bit of Australia he shouldn't have been in, but he must have realised and then switched his location off, because that puzzled me a bit. But you were still in Australia at that point. And then, so there we are. And of course, what happened, I had my phone in my hand as I went to answer the door. So I was still on Blab, and you recorded it the other way, and the girls were all watching in, and it was an amazing, amazing morning, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that was exciting. Hi, Joanne. Lots of people coming in here now. We're doing this was talking about, for anybody coming in now, this is a talking about Mummy's Day. And I was going to talk about all 3 children, but I seem to have a monopoly with Tristan, my youngest, because of course
I'm actually going to jump off and carry on listening on here, because I've got a couple of bits I need to finish. I'm a bit distracted because I've got a load of messages coming in ready for this week's worth of work coming up. So
I could see that, yes, because you seemed a bit distracted there.
I'm going to jump off and deal with those, but I will listen over here on the computer instead. Happy Mother's Day.
Righty-ho. Thank you.
Love you.
Thanks for coming in.
Bye.
Bye. That's my cheeky. But of course, Tristan and I have worked very closely on a lot of things. He is the reason I know so much about social media. He set me on the course. These days, I tend to do a lot of upskilling on my own because he's got so busy with what he's doing, and so I just go and upskill all the time. But the reason that I am even on social media is probably down to Tristan, who helped me get there. So, as I say, that's the youngest. That's the youngest and probably the cheekiest. My daughter in the middle, she has the 4 lovely children. She's got the twins, she's got another girl, and then she's got a little boy. So she has her work cut out. I'm very proud of her. She does a wonderful job as a mummy. And she has been with the children today with the other grandparents. And I don't have any problems with that. You know, it might be Mother's Day, but I was staying with the children the other day. So, you know, it's share and share alike as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, if ever I feel a little bit down, I just ring up, or we do a WhatsApp. Oh, sorry, my battery's having problems here. It's saying it's I've got it plugged in, so I don't know what's going on. But we might lose connection. I'm sorry if we do, but it's just saying it's slow, and I don't know why it's slow. Let's push it in here and see if that's any better. Sorry, I've got a battery There we go. Let's go on that one. And so, yeah, so she does a marvelous job. She does a lot of work with her local school. Lots of fundraising. Okay, Karen. Bye. See you. She does loads of fundraising for her school. Toby does a lot of different things. He's a web developer, so he's more behind the scenes person rather than in front of the camera, but he does a lot of good works there. He's getting married in 2019, so we have another family wedding coming up, which will be exciting. He and his cousin both getting married in the same year, so I must check with Toby whether he's chosen a date yet, because I know his cousin has, and they need to actually make sure that they're not both choosing the same date because they're in the same year. So that will be another occasion for another hat, another exciting times. So that's my that's some of what I was going to say. Tristan coming into the broadcast completely threw me from what I was going to do. I think having my bunch, you know, and being a mum, I think you have to learn to be resilient. And yesterday when I was out and about, anybody, if you on last night's broadcast, yes, I'm sure it did, Shirley. Yes. How old are your grandchildren, Shirley? But yes, this is a book I bought yesterday, Little Book of Resilience. I was thinking of it more from all the curveballs that are thrown my way, but actually, you know, sort of some of the issues of bringing up a family, you know, obviously you have to be resilient in there. You know, it's been a roller coaster ride, I don't mind saying, but you know, I love my children dearly, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So and what is so nice is that we can keep up. Now we have a WhatsApp group. We have a WhatsApp group that I and my children are in, and of course in that WhatsApp group, the grandchildren are allowed to come in and they sing to me, they tell me jokes, you know, they show me what they're doing, rides in the park. And then of course recently I got to look after the four of them, and forgive me if you've heard this story already. If you're a regular listener you will have done, but I went to stay recently and I had all four of them for 3 nights on my own, 3 nights and 4 days, and I took them out. And the first day I took them out, I had 4 of them on wheels, and I had to get along a main road, along the pavement, across a main road, along another busy road, and across to the shops. And that was a night that I was in bed by 10 o'clock, totally exhausted, which is why I wasn't doing 10 o'clock broadcasts while I was on granny duty, because I was totally exhausted. But Shirley, I trust that you've had a lovely day. Hi, Kelly. Lots of people coming in the broadcast. So what has anybody else done on Mother's Day? Or have you been with your children? Have you been with your mum? Have you been with your grandparents? Or have you just had, you know, anybody who's, you know, watching in? Please tell me what you've been up to. It's nice to share. As I say, I was out collecting for charity, and I was in a local shop, a shop on the Isle of Wight, and of course because it was Mother's Day the shop was full of flowers. It was you know, it was like a little supermarket, and it was full of flowers, and I was sitting amongst all the flowers because there were so many of them, and it was really fun to watch. I was people watching, and there were those people who came in. And, you know, you wonder, had they planned to come and get just flowers today because they knew it was Mother's Day, or had they suddenly remembered it was Mother's Day? And I was sitting near the Mother's Day cards too. And it's really interesting because some people come in and they spend hours choosing the right card, and then they pick up every bunch of flowers to decide which is the best one. And then there are the people who whiz in, pick the first bunch of flowers, pick the first card they see, and go and are gone in 2 minutes. Really, really interesting people watching, and it was just fun today. I was sort of trying to work out, you know, whether they knew in advance that it was Mother's Day or whether they'd suddenly seen it on social media or whatever. But it was quite interesting. But I had some fun as well today. Didn't see many children today. Perhaps they were all out with their grandparents or their, you know, their mummies, taking their mummies out for dinner or whatever. So it's been you know, although I haven't been with my children today, I've heard from all of them. My daughter was first, followed by Tristan, followed by Toby. We hang on, Tristan. I think Tristan's sending me a message there, and yes, I have always loved. You're quite right. I've always loved people watching, and there's lots of stories. And of course, when I'm doing my charity collections, it's usually possibly in a supermarket, and you know, people are coming in and out all the time. Tomorrow I'm out charity collecting in a different place, but it's a place that will be a hive of people coming in and out, and so it will be really interesting to watch. So I will have more fun stories probably. Hi everybody who's still coming into the broadcast. We chatting about Mother's Day, and my youngest child came into the broadcast just now, so he got the monopoly. Although I've got 3 children and I try to make it fair and share, you know, I did teach them years ago that life wasn't fair, and just get on with it. So you know, I don't think the other 2 will be bothered. I'm not quite sure whether that, I don't even see that. Sometimes my daughter's online, I can't see that she's away with the other set of grandparents, and she's probably exhausted from her day, so might be chilling out at this time of night. And my other son doesn't use social media very much, but they do use the telephone, and they've all rung me on the telephone today, so very, very important. So I hope you've all had a great day. I think I could go on for hours and hours, but I'm not going to, because I value your time, and I know that we've been on the broadcast for quite a while here. I hope that you enjoy the shenanigans of Lynn, livestream Lynn, and what goes on. If you've got any particular things that you'd like us to have a chat about, then let me know, because I'm always trying to think of new subjects and new different things to come. And don't forget, those of you who were in the broadcast last night will have seen my nice new tin. Laughter is the best medicine. And what I want is more jokes, more fun stories to put in the medicine tin, so that we can have various laughter days, laughter evenings, and bring out your jokes and your funny stories. So please keep those coming in, because of course, you know, if you've had funny stories that make you laugh, they will make other people laugh and uplift other people. And I do believe laughter is the best medicine. It does release a lot of happy hormones in us. I certainly know that when I laugh, it really lifts the spirits. And this tin was bought for me by a lovely gentleman I met yesterday in a shop, and I was admiring the tin and having a conversation with him, and he bought it for me, and I was just thrilled to bits. And so I said, well, we'll pay that forward, and we will share some lots of fun stories with the people who come into the broadcast. So I said that's what I would do, and I will do that. So keep the jokes coming. One of my grandchildren sent me some funny stories. I'm hoping the other grandchildren will send me some of their jokes too. But a lot of you have got jokes out there, so I'd love you all to send them in. Send them to my inbox so that people don't see them on the feed, so that we can. Otherwise, they'll all know the answers to the jokes. They might anyway, but there we go. So thank you so much for coming into the broadcast. I value your time so much. Let me know what you want us to chat about for the future. There's so many different subjects we could go on, and enjoy what's left of the evening, a little bit left of the weekend, an hour or so left of the weekend, and then have a wonderful week. And all being well, I will be back here at 10 o'clock tomorrow night, if I'm not too exhausted. I have got a full-on week this week. I'm out charity collecting tomorrow. We've got the tourism conference this week on the island. I've got ladies' lunch this week, and various other bits and pieces to fit in. So very, very full on week. So I actually need to think about getting to bed reasonably soon, so that I can keep going. So love you all lots. Thank you for coming into the broadcast, and see you all again soon. Bye.